municipality of Potsdam was eager to listen, which made the reconstruction possible, which is different in Dresden, where the city continues to thwart efforts to rebuild its beautiful historical fabric.
Wow, really? Dresden? Dresden was gorgeous. And it doesn't want to rebuild? Germany rebuilt Versailles and it's glorious. Before we get into the video, man, look, check out what I'm wearing down in the description. If you live in a cold region of the world, it is currently winter in the northern hemisphere, I highly recommend you go and get this. It is so great. You can wear this anywhere in your sleep, literally going out. It makes you feel warm. It doesn't make you sweat. I highly recommend you go and get this in those super cold areas. I personally wear it because, you know, my body, which is born and raised in the Caribbean tropical heat, ever since I moved there and I moved to a colder region, I'm not used to cold, so I wear this. My mother wears it too. Highly recommend you go and get this, man. Link is in the description down below. Let us continue.
They rebuilt Germany's Versailles, and it's absolutely glorious. The center of Potsdam went from a depressing Soviet concrete nightmare to a beautiful cobblestone square, surrounded by stunning buildings and a rebuilt palace.
Oh wow.
It seemed impossible. But thanks to a fight of some local inhabitants and a very generous donation, the town that was heavily bombed in World War II and further destroyed by the East German communists is once again a popular, loved and beautiful place attracting thousands of visitors. But how did they do it? Because rebuilding a town so beautifully isn't easy. For this video, I traveled to Potsdam to see its rebuilt center. And with help of my German friend Bart Urban, I interviewed a developer, an architect and a local activist to hear how the reconstruction of Potsdam was achieved. And at the end, we'll learn 5 valuable lessons that Potsdam teaches us and why we must build beautiful places. So let's dive right in.
I'm very curious because my country is a very vibrant country as well. And, you know, it's crazy because when I moved to America, you know, growing up in Barbados, a very vibrant, extremely vibrant place. You could go look it up and see for yourself how vibrant it is. You know, I thought everywhere was like that in the world. And when I came to America, I was like, what in the heck? It was dull, dead. It was depressing.
Potsdam with Willow Goepel, a local developer who was involved with some of the reconstruction projects here. He shows what the city looked like during DDR or GDR times.
Das ist das erste Bild unserer kleinen Rundreise über den alten Markt zu Potsdam. Eine Postkarte von 1988, die das Luftbild des Marktes zeigt. Das alte Rathaus und das damalige Knobelsdorfhaus sowie die Nikolaikirche. Anstelle des Potsdamer Stadtschlosses sehen wir noch einen riesengroßen Kfz-Parkplatz und links das Institut für Lehrerbildung Rosa Luxemburg, das heute abgängig ist und durch einen neuen Block ersetzt wurde.
But how did this town end up in such a bad state? And why is Potsdam such an important place in Germany to begin with? For that, we need to travel back in time. Potsdam is situated on the southwestern side of Berlin. It started as a small village in the 10th century AD and got promoted to a city in 1345. For a long time, it wasn't really that special, being a small market town. But one of Germany's famous noble families, the Hohenzollerns, had possessions in Potsdam, and their presence would turn Potsdam into a truly royal town. Around 1640, Frederick William, known as the Great Elector, became interested in Potsdam because he saw it as a strategic location for fortifications and economic development. Under his rule, Potsdam started to evolve from a modest market town into a hub of activity, and the town started to gain
I'm actually learning some history here that I never knew about before. Wow.
more prestige. King Frederick William I, also known as the Soldier King, the one who militarized Prussia, turned it into a garrison city and built the famous Garrison Church. He also had the idea to attract Dutch craftsmen to the city.
Garrison Church. What type of concept is that? Garrison Church? A church that houses troops? What?
And in order to do so, he decided to build a Dutch village, where they would feel right at home. So the Dutch Quarter was built, a neighborhood of classic Dutch houses with red brick, gabled roofs and green and white shutters. Unfortunately,
Dutch village. I know this is going to anger a lot of people, but like, what is the difference between Dutch architecture and German architecture before it was destroyed in World War II? I mean, and I know this is going to anger so much people, but like, I mean, Dutch people and like German people are kind of more or less the same. I mean, the name Dutch, it's literally cognate with the word Deutsch. And actually, the word Dutch literally used to mean German. But now the term is archaic. It's just that over time, Dutch, which used to mean all Germans, was simply referred to the Netherlands due to a whole bunch of history of the Netherlands and England having so much wars with each other that, you know, that's how that word stuck with just the Netherlands only, and you know the rest of the Germans had the term German coined to them and given to them. So
the plan didn't work out as he hoped, as not many Dutch people moved to Potsdam. The real transformation of Potsdam came in the 18th century under Frederick the Great. He was a lover of art, architecture and philosophy, and he envisioned Potsdam as
I feel
more than
like
just a royal
all of these rulers, leaders, like I was literally watching Versailles, the one in France reaction the other day, and King Louis also loved arts and all of that fun stuff. I feel like all of these leaders share the same passion, or is that just me?
seat. It would become a cultural and architectural jewel, rivaling the great cities of Europe. He commissioned the construction of Sanssouci Palace, a stunning Rococo retreat. Surrounding it, he created a series of parks, gardens and structures that would make Potsdam the Versailles of Germany. As the Hohenzollerns continued their reign, Potsdam grew in prominence. It was a sort of second capital to Germany. There were some dark pages in Potsdam's history as well, with the declaration of war being signed here in 1914, and it was in Potsdam where the ceremonial handshake took place between the new Chancellor Adolf Hitler and von Hindenburg in
Oh my gosh!
1933.
Oh
These dark
wow!
omens would be followed by an even darker chapter.
Okay.
The same Adolf Hitler ravaged Europe with his war. On the night of April 14, 1945, just weeks before the end of World War II, the British Royal Air Force launched a massive air raid in Potsdam, targeting its central areas and key infrastructure.
Alright. I say what you want, but I think that the British and American bombing of Germany in World War II was a war crime in 1945. 1944, I wouldn't really consider that a war crime. But 1945, and even then it's like, which part of 1944 are we talking? But like 1945 is like, come on, that's overkill. That's overkill. Like, come on. 1945, especially April. He said this is weeks before the war was gonna end. The Allies were already like very much into Germany, very much on the heights of Berlin. I mean, and you're still bombing them like this? For what? And please don't come in my comments like, oh, but if they didn't do it, it would have dragged on. Bro, the war would have ended regardless. This is just unnecessary. This is just so absurd. This is why I think, like, and I know other people kind of agree with me on this too. It's like, when you really and truly look at the American and British bombing rates of Germany in World War II, it's like, you see a lot of it was acceptable and understandable, but then when you look at stuff like this, and don't get me started on the whole Dresden thing, it's like, this is absurd and unnecessary and just a borderline of war crime, really and truly.
A large part of the center, with the Oude Markt, the Garrison Church and the iconic City Palace, were now in ruin. And then, just weeks later, the war ended. The city became part of...
I mean, what was that for? Weeks later, the war ended. What was the point in bombing that? That's my point. That's why I said a lot of these bombings that happened in 1945. It's like, I think personally, it's a war crime. I think personally, it's a war crime. 1941, that's fine. 1942, that's fine. 1943, that's fine. 1944, early 1944, mid 1944. I guess you could say 1944 as well. But in 1945, it's like everybody knew Germany. There was zero hope of Germany winning at this point. It's like the British and Americans, specifically, both British and Americans, just kind of had this obsession with just bombing Germany to stone ages, man. It's kind of barbaric, in my personal opinion. But
communist East Germany, and they had their own plans for what to do with Potsdam. But before I tell what the Soviets did, quickly something else. I'm finishing a new website that will have all my videos, interesting urban projects and much more all under one roof. For this purpose, I'm using Squarespace, the sponsor of today's video.
I'm not interested in Squarespace, so I'm just gonna skip that.
Purchase of a website or domain. After the war, the city became part of communist East Germany, the GDR. The new regime didn't like Potsdam's Prussian past and demolished many of its historic buildings.
Wow.
For example, the famous city palace, but also the garrison church. In June 1967, Walter
I mean, deleting history, bro. Really?
Ulbricht, leader of the GDR, issued the
I hate when
famous
people
order.
do that.
That thing must go, and the ruins of the church were removed. However, some historical buildings were restored during GDR times, like the St. Nicholas Church, one of Potsdam's most recognizable landmarks, which was designed by the masterful German architect Karl Friedrich Schinkel. For many years, Potsdam was a shadow of its former self. But then, from the early 90s onwards, everything started to change. The Berlin Wall had fallen, and Germany was reunified. And although many grew up in the post-war ugliness, not everyone had forgotten.
Bro, GDR drip though. GDR military uniform drip. Look, I know it was basically the same as the Wehrmacht in World War II, and that was the whole point. It was kind of the Soviets' way of showing their dominance on them. That's why they let them kind of kept that drip, that uniform. But it's so sad that Germany today did not keep that. Oh my gosh, man.
How beautiful Potsdam once was. A short while after reunification, the first voices in favor of rebuilding the beautiful city center were already heard. Thomas Albrecht, a German architect who currently teaches at the Rome program of the Notre Dame School of Architecture, one of the few schools that still has a classical and traditional program, was involved with multiple projects.
Wow.
In the first days, a wide civic movement started in Potsdam to say, we want the old market, so the inner city, back in its condition where it has been before 1940.
But how did these projects get started? How do you inspire a city to rebuild and to change? Barbara Kuster has been an activist for reconstruction of Potsdam for years with the organization Mitteschön.
Ja, also ich bin Barbara Kuster von Mitteschön. Mitteschön ist eine Bürgerinitiative in Potsdam. Wir sind schon über 16 Jahre zugange hier an diesem Platz. Es war ja kein Platz, es war eigentlich Einöde, es war Brache. Ja? Es stand nur das Rathaus, es stand die Kirche und ansonsten war Tabula Rasa, da war nichts. Das wurde weggesprengt nach dem Krieg. Ich habe es noch erlebt, dass es so geordnet war wie jetzt. Natürlich beschädigt durch den Krieg, sehr beschädigt. Man hätte es aber wieder aufbauen können. Und ich musste es dann auch miterleben, wie das alles gesprengt worden ist. Und deswegen bin ich da auch so engagiert in dieser Bürgerinitiative.
You know, it's very interesting listening to Germans speak. And, you know, Germans like to say, oh my gosh, German is such a hard language. And they're like so proud of it. Honestly, bro, I don't really think German's a hard language. But if you're an English speaker anyways, I don't think German's a hard language if you're an English speaker because German and English kind of descended from the same ancestors somewhat. Actually, you can literally just say that English is a German dialect. Really and truly. Go read old English books and words, and it's very much comparable to Hochdeutsch, which is the German dialect that is standard across all of Germany, because Germany has a bunch of dialects, but it's still all considered German, really and truly. It's just that they chose one dialect. It's the same thing in England. England had a whole bunch of English dialects as well, but they chose one dialect to be standard. But even then, though, English still has a bunch of accents from those dialects, which still persist on today. So it's like, I don't know. Like, every time I hear a German speak, I hear a bunch of words that sound the same, like in English. I'm like, is this really hard? I was teaching myself German like a while back, and I stopped, and it was not really hard at all. Like it really and truly was not hard at all. It's just repetition. I even the grammar rules was like not that difficult. Like people are like, oh, cases. English also has cases too. English is literally just German, but simplified. Literally, like.
The very first step to get Potsdam rebuilt wasn't to start directly with a massive project. Instead, they started by building a small building, the Fortuna Gate, which belongs to the city palace. With this first building, they showed the local citizens a physical, real example of what Potsdam could become in the future.
Den Anfang machte eigentlich Herr Jauch. Herr Jauch hat dieses wunderbare Fortuna-Portal bauen lassen, sozusagen als Startschuss. Hat natürlich keiner dran geglaubt. Der Bürgermeister sagte zu mir noch damals, Frau Kuster, Sie kriegen hier, den Stadtschloss kriegen Sie niemals. Heute steht's. Also wir haben Herrn Jauch sehr viel zu verdanken.
There were a number of main projects to be rebuilt in Potsdam.
Urban planning is a long-term thing, and it lasted till 2009, so nearly 20 years before the first master plan was finished, which said we will rebuild the Schloss in the former volume, and the Alte Markt had to be reconstructed. The Alte Markt is a very irregular place which is sloping down. Even the slope had to be integrated. Then there came the movement for the Garnisonkirche, Garrison Church, which had to be rebuilt, which was 90 meters high Baroque church.
The reconstruction of the Garrison Church was a big
19
victory.
meters high.
It took a lot of effort by people in Potsdam, and there even was a design competition. It still misses its spire and nave, but the tower stands and it can always be expanded later.
Gorgeous, very gorgeous. I wish more of Germany could look like this. A lot of Germany just looks dull. Very, very, very dull.
Die Garnisonkirche ist ja nun entblättert, die Gerüste sind gefallen, da gab es ja nun ganz viel Gegenwind. Jetzt höre ich nur noch, ich kann es nur subjektiv sagen, dass sie sagen, oh, das ist aber schön geworden, ja.
Second, there was the city palace on the Alte Markt, or the central square. It has been reconstructed too, with help of a 20 million euro donation of Hasso Plattner, the German Bill Gates and co-founder of SAP. The end result is incredible, as it fills up a gaping wound in the center of Potsdam. And third, the Alte Markt itself. Before the war, there was dense, beautiful urban fabric all around this main square, with some truly stunning buildings, like the Barberini Palace.
Golly, man, German architecture is really stunning. It's so depressing that the war just had to destroy so much of German architecture, man.
The college for teachers was built where before there were houses. And on the location of the Barberini Palace itself was nothing but open space, and later a temporary theater building. But the Barberini Palace was rebuilt and houses a museum, and is flanked by other buildings with traditional facades. The museum is very popular. It has the impressive collection of Hasso Plattner, which lovers of Monet paintings will like, as there's 40 of them. The teacher college was a cheap rip-off of a Mies van der Rohe building.
Unten drunter Mies van der Rohe, das Bankgebäude aus Des Moines in Iowa in den USA, eine Ikone der Moderne. Daran sieht man, dass selbst unsere Freunde zu DDR-Tagen als Architekten in Potsdam gerne Vorbilder zitiert haben.
The college has been knocked down and has been replaced by Block 3, bringing back dense, traditional urban fabric with many beautiful traditional facades.
Nice.
It's even better. There is one big ugly lump of concrete left that is being broken down as we speak, which will also be replaced by this beautiful traditional architecture. The municipality used the Leitbauten concept, loosely translated as landmark buildings concept, which places extra beautiful landmark facades on prominent locations. In a couple of years, Potsdam will be unrecognizable from just 15 years ago, and it will have its beautiful human-skilled center back. Hopefully the Garrison Church can also be fully rebuilt. Potsdam will be, once again, a true jewel. So what about the...
Yes! We need to do more of this for Germany. We do. Oh my gosh, man. Like, World War II, just the amount of shade that Germany got because of freaking World War II. Even then, in the whole Germanic world now, oh my... We have... I could go on a whole rant about this if I wanted to, but I'm not. It's 4 a.m. I'm not doing that.
Pages of Potsdam's history. After all, Hitler did go there, and the Prussians did wage many wars.
Menschen kommen nach Potsdam, weil sie so etwas sehen wollen. Weil sie
Bro, what? Oh my gosh, no. The dictator of Germany went to a city inside of Germany. What? What? No, Prussia waged a lot of wars, like what? Literally every other major European power did. Oh my gosh. That is stupid.
Mit, Ideologie, also ich finde, Geschichte kann man nicht sagen, das ist nicht meine Geschichte oder das ist meine Geschichte, sondern es ist unsere Geschichte. Und mit der müssen wir uns auseinandersetzen. Und das kann man am besten, wenn die Gebäude stehen. Zum Beispiel die Garnisonkirche. Da kann man erzählen, dass da Hitler und Hindenburg waren an einem Tag. Da ist aber auch ganz viel andere Geschichte passiert. Da war Napoleon.
Exactly.
Die ganzen
Exactly,
Könige,
exactly.
Also es ist unsere Geschichte.
So there you have it.
Exactly. My goodness, man. I swear, bro. I love Germany. I don't know, man. It's like the mindset of a lot of Germans nowadays is just, I don't even know the word to describe it. It's just absurd. I have no idea how to describe it. It's like, but like really, like, oh no, guys, a guy with a silly mustache was in this city. It's a city. It's a public space.
Potsdam was able to restore its city center to its glorious former beauty. For me personally, this is something that makes me super enthusiastic for the future. If stories like this inspire you as well, there's something very simple you can do to keep them coming. A whopping 88% of people watching The Aesthetic City aren't subscribed yet. If you like these videos,
I'm pretty sure I'm already subscribed.
It really makes a big difference. So back to Potsdam. What can we learn from this? Here are 5 lessons I think are great to consider. 1. Help people to imagine change. Until something real is built, it is very hard for many to imagine what a new, more beautiful city center could look like. In Potsdam, they first rebuilt the Fortuna Gate. And that made people realize, hey, we can actually just rebuild stuff and it will look amazing. This is critical for getting support. So if you have a project and want to inspire people, it can help to make a great computer rendering, a physical model, or even build a first phase or prototype to help people imagine what could be.
This reminds me of, I saw this guy who did a model of our parliament in my country, Barbados. He did a very beautiful model. If I could find that, I would show it, but I can't find it. I'll show it here. But it reminds me of that. It's very gorgeous, man.
2. Creating a strong sense of place is essential. Many people crave it. They don't want to live in an anonymous, boring world where everything looks the same. They want surprises. They want to feel at home where they live. And when they travel, they want to find a place that is different but authentic. Not exactly the same as home. Number 3. Listen to the people. In Potsdam, people yearned for a beautiful city and they fought for a long time. The municipality of Potsdam was eager to listen, which made the reconstruction possible. Which is different in Dresden, where the city continues to thwart efforts to rebuild its beautiful historical fabric.
Wow, really? Dresden? Dresden was gorgeous. And it doesn't want to rebuild? What?
Be democratic and listen to what the people want. It will often lead to popular decisions.
Surprised.
That, in the case of beautiful architecture and urbanism, will help everyone. Organize events. The Mieteschön group in Potsdam started by organizing one event every month.
Und dann haben wir hier, als dieses Fortuna-Portal stand, ganz viele Veranstaltungen gemacht, einmal im Monat. Da haben wir gezeigt, wie das aussah, das Schloss, denn viele kannten das ja gar nicht. Ich meine, die waren eine andere Generation. Und die waren alle ganz begeistert und wir wurden immer mehr. Und es war dann zum Schluss so, dass hier auf dem Platz um die 2000 Leute saßen, an langen Tischen mit weißen Tischdecken, Leuchtern. Und wir also unter dem Titel Wir brennen für das Stadtschloss, das hatte große Wirkung. Das haben wir mehrere Male durchgeführt und die Stadtpolitik und vor allen Dingen Herr Plattner, der gesagt hat nach einiger Zeit, wenn die Potsdamer das so sehr wollen, nämlich nicht nur den Landtag, sondern den Landtag in historischer Form des Stadtschlosses, dann gebe ich ihm die 20 Millionen. Und das hat er dann auch gemacht.
And finally, number 5. Beauty matters. The reconstructions in Potsdam have given hope and joy to its residents, and they have attracted many tourists to Potsdam, boosting the economy. There are enough studies showing that beauty is good for our health and for community satisfaction, but it also has an uplifting element that is hard to express in numbers or peer-reviewed studies. Beauty is not just about aesthetics, it's about the kind of world we want to build and live in. The truth is, beauty stands for something.
It's funny how he's putting the names of the countries in the bottom right hand corner. I'm just reading it right now. I'm like, what the heck?
That some things are worth preserving, cultivating, or even defending. And while some may dismiss beauty as unimportant or elitist, it's actually a force that helps protect the things that make life meaningful. Maybe one final point to add, and that is the 20 million euro donation of the German billionaire Hasso Plattner to fund the facade for the city palace. I believe that what he did is one of the best ways to spend money for a billionaire. How many billionaires spend their money on cringy mansions or tacky yachts? Well, they could be building magnificent palaces and be patrons of art, beauty and long-lasting architecture.
Reminds me of how Notre Dame was built, you know? When I reacted to Notre Dame, you know, the guy who built it was also rich as heck, man.
Just think about all the craftsmen they could employ. That is exactly what the rich did in the past. They gave back to their communities in the form of beautiful art and architecture.
It's basically like what I just said about how Notre Dame was built.
People like Michelangelo and Bernini, but even Andrew Carnegie funded many amazing buildings. It is refreshing to see people like Hasso Plattner, who get it, follow in their footsteps, and I believe we need a lot more of that. The story of Potsdam has shown us how local inhabitants can reshape their city. War and destruction might have taken beauty away, but it can always be brought back. And like a phoenix, the city has risen from the ashes. There are more cities that have been rebuilt, like Warsaw in Poland, and I'm hoping to make videos about these projects too.
I've heard about Warsaw, yeah.
Than to see beauty and pleasant, human skill environment return to former glory.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. You can still see some commie blocks though. You could get rid of those commie blocks. And you have yourself a nice, classic, European city right here. I want to see more of Germany look like this. Because Germany looks so depressing. I want to see Germany look more like this. Let Germany be vibrant again.
By the way, if you want to learn more about how to create beautiful traditional urban design, I'm developing a course on it, because there are few places.
You made it to the end of the video. Make sure you go like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for me that you know I would love to react to, go comment down below. Go check out my other reactions on my channel. If you're interested in buying this, the link is going to be in the description below. Again, highly recommend you buy this. It is so good, so excellent, and it's so freaking comfortable. I love it. I love it. Me and my mother, we wear this. I mean, she wears it everywhere she goes, even in public. That's how comfy it is, man. Look, thank you for watching, and goodbye.